Well, the second half started across Major League Baseball, but I think someone forgot to tell the St. Louis Cardinals because it was a pretty ugly start to the unofficial second half out at Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. The Cardinals were swept by the Diamondbacks. All three games pretty uncompetitive, and it just made for a very sour taste to start what should have been, I think, the Cardinals' most competitive part of the season, given the fact that they are competing for their trade deadline direction. But did not go well. Welcome back again to Cardinal Territory. Katie Woo, Bernie Miklasz here. Bernie, your takeaway. Obviously, I was not at Chase Field, and I'm sorry in advance for my voice. Happy All-Star break to me. I caught the flu, so trying to stay on the mend here. I'll try not to talk a lot because this sounds terrible. Bernie, you can go ahead and sound off on what I thought was just a completely embarrassing performance by the Cardinals.
Well, it was embarrassing on so many levels. Like you mentioned, it was non-competitive. The Cardinals just, basically the first three innings, if you add up the score, like the first three innings of all three games, I mean, they were outscored like 16-0 in the first three innings. And, the starting pitching was horrendous with Palante and Gray and Michaelis. They had a 13.50 ERA in the series, and none of them got through five innings. But I don't want to blame everything on the starting pitching as bad as it was, because the hitters came out flat, got nothing done. The team really didn't put up much of a fight. And listen, you and I and many others have complimented and praised this team for, their spirit, their energy, where nothing seems to get them down. They're going to keep coming at you. And I have to start to reassess that, because Katie, here's the thing that bothered me about it, other than the fact that, they lost those three games. And like you said, they really forget the final score Sunday. That was not a competitive game. But here's a team that has been having all kinds of problems, right? All kinds of problems. And they lost 8 out of their final 12 games going into the break. But yet you look at the standings and they're still right there. So if I'm a member of the Cardinals baseball family, whether, the coach, manager, players, whatever, I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, we kind of used to use a horse racing term. We kind of threw a shoe there towards the end. We really, really played poorly. But guys, we're still in it. We're still right there. So let's go. Let's go. And I really thought they'd come out. And, because we heard so much about how tired they are. The guys are banged up. And I'm sorry, Ollie Marmol, but all 30 teams are banged up, okay? I don't think people want to hear that, even if there's truth to that, because it applies to every team. But I would have lost a lot of money if I would say, I'll bet you $100 they're going to come out flying. They're going to come out throwing punches, so to speak. They were totally flat. There was no urgency. There was no energy. They just flatlined. And I don't understand how, where did that team go that you and I were saying, gosh, this team's fun to watch. Gosh, they're entertaining. Gosh, they get after it. Gosh, they're resilient. What the heck happened to that team during the All-Star break? What happened? I mean, they had 4 days to rest, other than Brendan Donovan. They had 4 days to rest. They should have came out just going, this high voltage team, ready to go we got 65 games left. Let's get after this thing. They were like the exact opposite of that. And that's very, very disappointing.
It was super disappointing. And as you know, Bernie, you're only as good as your starting pitching. And in April and May, the Cardinals starting pitching had really overperformed. July, not so much. The Cardinals rotation collectively has an ERA over 7 in July. The Cardinals are 11. I've lost 11 of their 14 games this month. They've dropped to 2 games over 500. What struck me about how frustrating this series was, because you're completely right. They came out from the All-Star break, and you're hoping to see a recharged, refreshed, rejuvenated, whatever word you want to use, team. And it was just so disinterested. It was completely flat. And I think it's because when you have a team and in 3 games, you're out of it by the 3rd inning, it's really hard to come back from that. Think about it. Andre Palante on Friday was 5-0 in the 3rd inning. Sonny Gray was 3-0 in the first. Miles Michaelis 4-0 in the first. When that's how you're starting your games, it doesn't matter how good your offense is or how well rested you are, whatever you want to say about your team, that is a really hard hole to climb out of. And this Cardinals rotation has struggled mightily, not even dating back to June, but July especially. So again, you're only as good as your starting pitching, and the starting pitching for the Cardinals has faltered extremely. And I don't want to give a pass to the offense because the offense needs to be better as well. You can't rely on Alec Burleson, Ivan Herrera, and Brendan Donovan to carry the work. I know Nolan Arenado has done a very nice job in coming back to a team where he wasn't necessarily supposed to come back to, but the production has to be better there. The production has to be better with Wilson Contreras. All around, you need a better performance from your lineup. It didn't help that Nolan Gorman starts the season with his back locked up, goes on the IL on Saturday. Like, it just, the more the series went on, the more I was like, I thought the All-Star break was supposed to help teams. And I think the Cardinals might have missed the memo here because they don't look any better.
No, and Mason Wynn's another guy, just really hasn't gotten much done. He just really hasn't. So those guys are like all over the place. They don't get much offense out of the catcher position, which we know. And Arenado's can only do what he can do. I mean, I don't expect him to be terrific offensively. I mean, sadly, those days are over, but, he'll come through every now and then, but he's, he was out there trying to play with a sore shoulder. Listen, Victor Scott's gotten a little better, but great defense, but they're, still not getting much offense out of center field. In fact, their outfield in general, when Burleson's not playing in the outfield, their offensive production has been awful, just flat out awful. And, they're cranked up Jordan Walker again. He looked okay at times in this series, but let's not have a parade. Let's not get right. But here's the deal. I'm going to get back to what you said, because you're so right. You look at, I could point out a number of teams, but you look at, like, for example, you look at the Milwaukee Brewers. They have all kinds of starting pitching depth. In fact, they are so well positioned for the trade deadline because they have such a surplus of starting pitching. They can fill any need they want to fill, whether it be, shortstop, third base, whatever. And the reason is because they have great starting pitching, and it's deep starting pitching. And their offense is pretty good, but it doesn't hit a lot of home runs, but they steal bases, they manufacture, but they have outstanding starting pitching. And when you have that, man, that covers a lot of your flaws, a lot of your weaknesses, a lot of your holes. And the Cardinals have been exposed. Their last 44 games, it goes back to May 30th. They have the worst starting pitching ERA in the majors. It's 5.70, and the quality start percentage is like really, really low during that time. So it's almost like a nullifier. I mean, this team is offensively challenged. It has gotten progressively worse. And so when your starting pitching, gets you blown out of games early, and that's happening a lot. The Cardinals do not have the offensive firepower to make comebacks. Every now and then, they make comebacks, but let's be honest about this. A lot of their comebacks were from, very reasonable deficits where you're a couple runs down, you're 3 runs down. But you're pretty much, punched out even before you have a chance to punch back. You're knocked down and basically knocked out before you can counterpunch, and that's kind of what's happening to them. And if this starting pitching continues this way, I mean, forget about it. You can't win with this kind of starting pitching. And I know we'll get into the Matthew Liberatore situation, and it's just there's not any really encouraging signs with the starting pitching. There's just not. There's Sonny Gray's getting battered now. I mean, Yeah,
that to me was the most disappointing game because look, Palante goes out there and gets shelled, and we know this is the deal with him. He's going to have starts where he looks really good. He's going to have starts where he looks really bad. He's a ground ball pitch to contact guy. The Cardinals have 800 of those in the organization. It's not Palante's fault. They need to modernize that approach. They're trying. It's not something that's going to change overnight. But you have your ace take them out on Saturday, and Sonny Gray has thrown some really nice games for the Cardinals this year. But that performance on Saturday was so disheartening because your ace just got walloped. And again, you're out of the game by the second inning, and you just kind of feel like, okay, here we go again. It's a continuation of what we looked like before the All-Star break. It's super frustrating, especially when we all know what's at stake here. John Mozeliak is going to make his decision over the next 7 days, basically, before the July 31st trade deadline. And when you have teams like the Brewers, who, by the way, now are tied with the Cubs and the Tigers for the best record in baseball, just pulling away. I mean, to me, we'll get into this, I'm sure. It seems the path the Cardinals should take come the deadline is very clear, but we know this organization is going to be hesitant to do that. But this series really, to me, in my opinion, showed all the reasons why the Cardinals should not be considered a competitive team right now. And they weren't supposed to be this year, but the focus should remain on the future. This series did nothing for me except maybe indicate that the Diamondbacks could maybe not sell. Maybe it'll be the other way around. Maybe the Cardinals will.
Yeah. The Diamondbacks before the series, their run prevention was terrible. They were giving up 5.1 runs per game before the series started, and they shut this team down. And I'll just say this: it's just listen. Eugenio Suarez is obviously having a great year, power hitter. He is, but my goodness, they're throwing the ball right down the middle to him. Like Miles
Michaelis today when it left his hand on my TV. I said, that's a homer, and it was.
It's like I was texting with some of my KMOX friends and colleagues during the game. It's like what universe does Miles Michaelis think? Oh, okay, here's Suarez, probably the hottest home run hitter in baseball right now. Well, maybe next to Cal Raleigh or whatever. I'm going to throw that 91 heater, and I'm going to go up, and I'm going to put it right by him. It's like. Yeah, maybe if it was like 1986, you could do that, but it's not going to happen now. And I got to tell you, man, I'm sorry, but I was watching the post-game show, and Miles Michaelis really irritated me, and I know he irritated Cardinals fans because he was just sort of like, He said, had two balls hit really hard. Unfortunately, they were both home runs, but he ended his comments by saying, like, other than that, pretty good. He felt good about his start. I mean, this is one of the guys who should be one of your leaders, and that's what he's going to say after that. You throw two meatballs to Suarez, who puts him into like Glen, shoots him all the way to Scottsdale, and it's like, well, pretty two shots, but other than that, pretty good. Get him out of here. I'm serious. I mean that. I don't know how Mozeliak or Bill DeWitt or anyone in charge there could listen to that and not be as like furious as I am. You can't come out and say that, man. So this thing, that's just another sign of things disintegrating. It's nothing personal, but his time has come and it should be gone. How much longer are they going to stay with this? There's nothing else. It's not like he's going to help turn things around. And I'm sorry, but that really, really bothered me, his post-game demeanor.
I wish I would have been there for the post-game because a lot of times, and this, Bernie, we see such a short snippet of the post-game reaction. And Miles Michaelis, after most games, I would say 95% of the time, is really insightful. Like I remember the Wrigley Field incident on 4th of July, the way that he was accountable, accommodating. So I was a little surprised to see how short his answers were post-game. But I will say I wasn't there for the whole thing, so I don't know how the rest of it went down. It was a very short snippet from FanDuel Sports.
Yeah, I agree.
What was said. Again, I don't know. But yeah, I would have been interested to talk to Miles myself and think, how are the Cardinals evaluating each start going forward? And I think every starter there is obviously understands where the rotation is and the lack of production. So hopefully these rotation changes that the Cardinals are making, we'll get into that in just a second, will help turn some things around because it is just exhausting to watch lately. We'll get into the rotation changes first. So I need to tell you guys about a little giveaway we're doing at Chat BCC. We have a great giveaway going on right now in our Chat BCC group chat. You think you know ball? Prove it in our trivia game for a shot at winning an authentic MLB jersey of your choice worth up to $400. Here's how to enter. 1, sign up at foulterritory.chat. 2, play trivia, crush it, and you might win. We're picking one winner from the top 10 scores at random. Deadline is July 20th. That's tonight, Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. Again, that's at Chat BCC. So something the Cardinals made official before Sunday's game. Our pal Michael McGrevy will take a spot start against the Colorado Rockies. That will be on Monday. Eric Fetty will start Tuesday. Andre Palante on Wednesday. The Cardinals are going to skip Matthew Liberatore's scheduled start. He will start on Saturday against the Padres. They want to give him some extended rest coming out of the All-Star break. Libby has already surpassed his innings thrown last season and is on track to far surpass the amount of innings he's thrown in his career. So just going to give him a little bit of extra break, just like me, because I'm running out of breath right now. For Libby, we could kind of see it going into the All-Star break. One of many players who look like they needed to just kind of reset. So McGrevy will start again on Monday. The Cardinals have got to start giving him better assignments. The Mets, the Dodgers, go take a start on Coors Field. Go get him. You'll be fine. And I do think, at least I hope, that the Cardinals are going to try to find a way for McGrevy to stay up for real this time. We know St. Louis is trying to shop Eric Fetty. We know that they intend, or at least hope, to have a spot in the rotation come the trade deadline for McGrevy to take over. It doesn't make any sense to option him back down after this next spot start.
No.
However, they continue to do that. So if they do that, would we be surprised? Not really. But I'm under the belief that they are going to try to do what they can to get him to stay with the big league club, and it's about time.
Yeah, and I listen. In Colorado, I didn't see their score today. You know, you're right though. It's obviously a tough place to pitch. Although McGrevy does keep the ball down and he knows how to pitch and he's smart and he's tough. He's competitive. He's tough-minded. There's a lot to like about him. You know, listen, in 2026, if Michael McGrevy is near the back of your rotation, fifth starter, maybe fourth starter, then you're going to have a really good rotation.
Yeah, you're going to go.
Right. And I don't, because I think I've had some fan backlash to say, well, you guys all talk about him like he's like a number one starter. No, well, if we do, and I don't think we have.
I don't think we do.
But we like him because we see the qualities that he brings to this. And anybody's watched him, even games where his pitching line wasn't all that great, there were some things in there you would really like. I mean, there is, pardon the cliche, but there's a real bulldog to him that, frankly, I don't think they have enough of right now. And they should plug him in and let him go. I don't really care I don't care like who doesn't pitch. Too bad. You know, all of these guys they've all had their chance. Agreed. It's time to give him a chance in what is supposedly a quote runway season. So, it's a tough spot. And I don't know what Colorado did today. I was looking for the score here and I can't find it. But they beat the Twins the first two games out there. So they're perking up a little bit. So I don't know. They're probably looking at the Cardinals like, boys, with this starting pitching, we can win some more games. So it's going to be an interesting test out at Coors Field.
Yeah, and this is not exactly the ballpark that you want your 7+ ERA rotation to pitch in. I don't care that the Rockies are quite literally 50 games under 500. I mean, you have to take care of business against this squad. And even if you do, that doesn't really say much about the direction of the club. The thing about Michael McGrevy, because I want to go back to that.
Sure.
Michael McGrevy is not like going to completely transform this organization. And I would hope that's not like how we're presenting it. I don't think it is. What makes us so adamant that McGrevy should be in the rotation is because he is very much the exact definition of a runway player you need this year. Let's not even take into consideration his status as a first-round draft pick from 2021. No organization treats their first-round draft pick, a college pitcher, by the way that the Cardinals have treated Michael McGrevy. It's just complete malpractice when it comes to drafting a college pitcher in the first round. He's not going to be the ace of the rotation. He's not going to take this organization from, average to a perennial contender. But he is maybe going to be an important piece of it going forward as a back-end starter, and the Cardinals need to see that. He also is by far one of your better options in this rotation currently. So whatever route you want to go, whether it's runway or results, Michael McGrevy fits both molds, which is why there has been such a push from myself, from you, Bernie, from many others, to get him in the rotation. It's not because we think he's going to be the next Cy Young. It's because he has some great qualities. It's because he will perform better than the majority of this rotation right now, and because he figures to be a part of the future going forward. So you might as well see what you have in him. I'm with you. I don't care whose spot he takes. I don't think the Cardinals are looking to do a 6-man rotation right now at this time. I think there's going to be a time where they make a decision about Libby's innings and Palante's innings, but I still think that they're trying in the most perfect world to trade Eric Fetty. That's why they're going to keep throwing him out there. The Cardinals are not starting Eric Fetty because they think that they give him their best chance to win. They're starting him because it's their only way to kind of prove any kind of value here, because, and we've talked about this before, Bernie, doesn't matter what a pitcher looks like. It matters that a pitcher is healthy at the deadline. You have X amount of teams looking for starting pitching, which is, as we know, the most coveted thing at the deadline. Some organization is going to look at Eric Fetty and think, you know what, maybe we can fix him. We'll take a flyer on him for a rental for maybe less than $3 million, but we have to know if he's healthy. And if the Cardinals are all of a sudden skipping his starts, then you have the red flag, like maybe he's not healthy. So he's going to continue pitching at least one more time through the rotation. McGrevy should continue pitching throughout the rest of the season.
And here's the deal. I don't think he has much value, but I think of a trade that it just shows you that you take a guy that's really not very good at it. Not very good that season, and he's on expiring contract and all that stuff. And you can still get a little something for him. Here's and the trade I'm thinking about is when the Cardinals got Matt Swanson, I think it was the DeYoung trade. Now again, I'm not sitting here saying, oh man, they got Matt Swanson. That's really not the point. The point is they cashed in an asset that had no future with the team, and they got a young pitcher at the time. I read some stuff about him. He had some potential, but he has shown that he can be a good reliever in a major league bullpen. I mean, so you can, even if a guy like Fetty's value's got to be rock bottom, but even then, you can get a marginal prospect or two, and you never if you've done your scouting and you have a good read on these prospects, you might be able to pluck someone out of this that can help you in the future. And I'm saying that keeping a good perspective on this. In other words, anything you can get that can help you, that's a good trade for a guy like Fetty. So we'll see what happens. But I wanted to say one other thing about Lipitor. I wonder, maybe it's not fair to wonder, but after all, McGrevy was down there, okay? And I don't think this is a second guess, but if people want to say it's a second guess, okay. You and I and a lot of people are fans of Matthew Lipitor. We love the decision to put him in the rotation. I'm not second guessing that at all. But his first 10 starts were outstanding, except for maybe one, but really, really good body of work. His last 8, no. ERA way up. But the thing the telltale sign during this 8-start stretch, is his strikeout rate is just absolutely collapsed. I mean, it's right down there with Fetty and Michaelis, Palante. So to me, that's a telltale sign. And it wasn't like it just happened. It had happened gradually. I think it's fair to ask, should Ollie and Dusty Blake maybe given him that breather earlier? I think he needed one even before the All-Star break and now. In other words, I like what they're doing, but I think they maybe should have done that or could have done that sooner. And it's not like people were never raising questions about, well, wait a minute, what's going to happen when the innings pile up? And I was one of the people that actually pushed back against that, because you know what I said? And my friend Chris Ryan J. Campbell-X was saying that pretty early on, and I was kind of like poo-pooing him. And I said, oh, no. These guys will make sure not to overdo it. They'll skip a start. Maybe they'll skip a start. Then a little while down the road, they'll skip another start. And they didn't, So, yeah, I'm a little befuddled by that because, again, you had McGrevy down there ready to go. You could have given Lipitor a couple of different breaks. Like, right. I don't understand. I'm just going to laugh instead of rage. I just don't understand these people sometimes. I mean, if you're going to make him a spot starter, well, he can be a spot starter for when you say, gosh, you look at the numbers. It looks like Libby's probably a little worn out. We got to give him a blow here. That's what McGreevy's down there for, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I kind of give up on this stuff by now. I really do. I'm trying to make sense of it.
Oh, we have to stop trying to do that. It's never going to make sense.
Stop making sense. Talking heads. Stop making sense. Anyway, go ahead.
We just kept guessing. It's okay. Yeah. I really learned a lot. All right, quick message from our partner with DraftKings, then we'll get into this upcoming Rockies series, which, as we discussed, Bernie, it is going to be a big one because I very much believe this season will, even though it shouldn't, probably should have picked a direction a long time ago, will hinge on how this series goes. But first, from DraftKings. Nothing beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching baseball, and the simplest way to get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6. And right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Download Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FAL, that's code FAL, for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Thinking about when my voice sounded like a normal person. Jokes on
Oh,
you
you're all right.
guys.
You're too hard on yourself.
No,
So-
it's pretty bad. And it's only going to get worse because I'm recording a crossover episode with Kyle Glazier of Padres Territory right after this. So we're going to get a double whammy of whatever is going on here.
By the way, the Twins did beat the Rockies today, so they cooled them down a little bit for the Cardinals.
Oh.
You know what? We're not doing DraftKings picking someone, but I just wanted to say this. I really want to see Palante in this series because the Rockies love to hit the ball in the air, obviously. And, you know, Palante, the one thing about that, man, ground ball, ground ball, ground ball, ground ball, ground ball. Everyone can laugh at me later, but I think Palante is going to have a good start out there.
That is a choice. That is a take.
Yeah.
You know what? We need some optimism. So why not?
Right. What did he start the third game in the series? Yeah.
Yes, I'll start that Wednesday day game.
Ground ball, baby.
All right, yeah. You know what? Can't be a home run if it doesn't leave the ground. So that's smart there. Bernie, look, I feel like this series against the Diamondbacks kind of started the Cardinals sliding to the soft sell mode. I think if they lose the series to the Rockies, it will definitively point that way. But as we just said, nothing's for certain with this organization. We know John Mozeliak is comfortable waiting until the last couple of days before definitively deciding. And let me clarify something because I just saw this on Twitter. Just because the president of baseball operations is prepared to wait until 96, 72 hours to make a definitive decision does not mean that he is not preparing or checking in or calling. Come on, people. We have to use our brains. I know there's some Mo fatigue here, but you really think he's not on the phone with multiple other executives around the league, checking in on different players, gauging the interest on his own team? Of course he is. He's just not committing to a decision until he absolutely has to. Now, this Rockies series, should the Cardinals lose it, will ultimately force his hand. And I know that he has said, including to me, he does not really want to trade a Ryan Helsley or a Phil Maton or a Steven Matz. They're open to trading an Eric Fetty regardless of direction. But if they're going to compete, Mo wants to hang on to his relievers. If they pivot to this soft sell, those are most likely the players that are going to go. I don't see the Cardinals trading anyone not on expiring deals. There is a huge demand for a reliever market. You think of any contender or fringe contender, they all want relievers. The Dodgers, the Phillies, the Rays, everyone wants relievers. There will be a market for those three. Well, they might not want to move them. They might have to. This Rocky series, I think, will give us a much better understanding of the direction they'll go next week.
I've already made up my mind, and it's not prematurely at all, because again, I was offering some stuff here about this before and after picture. Their last 44 games and how brutal it's been, and run differential, starting pitching, the offense, like all the arrows are pointing way, 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 way down. And so this team as it is right now, even with all those players that players Mo might be really wanting to hang on to, they're not going to make you a good team. The Cardinals' weaknesses have been laid wide open. Everyone knows what they are now. And you don't turn those things around. You might turn them around for a series, to your point. Okay, go to Colorado. They play a horrible team. Maybe they can win the series. Maybe they can sweep. That personally wouldn't change my mind, because I'm going back with a big body of work that's, getting close to 50 games. The other thing is that, and pardon me, for just throwing this in here too, but I did write about it as part of a longer column, and I mentioned it on video, I think. STL Sports Central. Thank you. You know who would have, I think, surprisingly rich trade value in a very hungry reliever market? Do Cardinals fans know that since Dusty Blake spotted a mechanical flaw that was impacting his delivery, going back to late April, it's now 26 relief appearances. Jojo Romero has got an ERA of about 0.40, and he has not allowed an inherited runner to score. and he is murder on lefties. And here's the thing. Here's why I say if teams want JoJo Romero, and he has been great since late April. You know, the best thing about it for a team that wants him, he's not a rental. He's got one more year left after this. So you buy him for your push this year. And then if you're not set up for next year, you would have him the full 2026 at a reasonable price. So that's the kind of guy that I think teams really cut. Rather than just a rental, it's like, well, wait a minute. This guy's been pretty good, and we ought to take a look at this because we can just put him, we know we'll have him for 2026. So I would just throw that out there. And just as a general principle, Katie, you know, and I'm sure you agree or agree to a point. To me, Mo ought to just let everybody know that, hey, anybody's available. You know, make us an offer. Now, this doesn't mean that I'm saying just get rid of everybody. I'm not saying that at all. But listen to anybody that wants to make you an offer for anyone on your team. You ought to listen to it. Doesn't mean you have to say, yeah, deal.
Yeah, listen.
Right. Because you got to listen, do what you can to set this thing up better for Chaim Bloom when he takes over. You know, you got
that's the whole point of this year. And if things keep going the way that they are, he's going to have to do all the work anyway. So,
I mean, if you've got guys on expiring contracts or another reliever that gives a new team a full year of his services, you know, don't hold on to these guys. You're not going to beat out these other teams for a wild card spot.
No,
I mean, your last almost 50 games just proves how far you have collapsed, basically, and that's what I'm going on. And I know as soon as they win, like, you know, 3 or 4 games or 4 or 6 games, people are going to be like, oh, see. No, I've already seen it. You know, this pitch to contact staff, it just shows you, as we all knew, the perils of expecting them to be able to kind of dodge all these balls in play, you know, for an entire season. And they weren't able to pull off that magic trick. They actually pulled it off for a very long time, to their credit. But
they did an exceptional job in the beginning of the season.
Right. But the reality is that's going to catch up to you because you just can't keep dancing around all these hard hit balls everywhere. You know, I don't know. So I'm totally in the sell mode.
And I'm with you on JoJo Romero. I didn't think about that, but he'll be heading into his final year of arbitration in 2026. He's going to be owed the most money there. The Cardinals are in a cost-cutting phase. They did this with Tommy Edman, and obviously a different scenario, but I could see JoJo Romero having a lot of value there, and maybe the Cardinals are inclined to listen. So we'll see how the Rockies series goes, and then I fully expect we'll have a much better understanding of the trade deadline picture from the St. Louis side after the series. I'll be back with the team, whether they like it or not, starting tomorrow. So it'll be nice to actually have some boots on the ground for the first time in a week and try to figure out what exactly is going on and what's a fair expectation over the next 10 days. No matter what, it will not be boring. So we have that.
That's right. Well, listen, I really mean this. It's been a fascinating season. It's been a really interesting season. And the Cardinals really played good ball, and they were a very likable team for most of the way. But I just think it's the classic case of, like, you know, they're kind of out over their skis now, and they've been exposed. You know, the vulnerabilities have just no longer can be concealed. They're just out there in the open, you know. So reality is like kind of knocking you upside the head. You know, that's really the bottom line. It doesn't mean these players are worthless. It doesn't mean they're garbage. It doesn't. No, it's listen. You know, the people that thought, hey, this team, you know, they're going to have a losing record. They may even lose 87, 88 games, whatever. Those were not outrageously negative opinions, because you look at all the questions in this whole runway winning, and then being stubborn, you know, by keeping, you know, Fetty and Miklasz in your rotation. You hold back one of your runway starters. I mean, this whole thing has been weird, and I think that for the most part they've gotten a lot out of this roster, and that part should not be forgotten. Am I down on them now? Yeah, I am, because I didn't like the way they came out in Arizona. They were flat. They had no energy. That's inexcusable. But they actually squeezed quite a bit out of this poorly constructed roster, and also this mission statement that was confusing to everybody. You know, so I don't lose sight of that. I'm not going to, basically sit here and say everything's a failure. No, there's been some
I
good
don't think that.
discoveries. Yeah, there's been some good discoveries this year.
That was
And
the whole point of the season, was to
right.
discover what you have. I think there are plenty of players that you can look to build around for next year, starting with Brendan Donovan. You have some exciting talent in AAA. Look, just because the Cardinals should probably soft sell, mainly because I don't think there's a single move they could make to improve their team to be surefire contenders at the deadline anyway.
Right.
It doesn't mean that this is a failure of a season in the long term. I still think the Cardinals did the right thing this year in trying to see what they had in-house. And if in-house your talent did not project out to what you thought it would be, at least you know that now. So now you can focus on trying to build in within, try to upgrade your player development system, try to find something and offload talent that won't be here next year and try to get something to spin it forward. Doesn't mean it's a failure of a season. It's so difficult, but we have to keep the long-term view in focus here.
Right.
And that's what I hope happens at this year's trade deadline.
But that's why they've got to get something out of the players that are going to be leaving. They just have to, because even if you make 3 or 4 deals and none of them are quote blockbusters, it's kind of the cumulative effect of who you add, and you might get really lucky on a prospect or two. So, but I think this, frankly, I think the season is a failure if you don't sell at the deadline.
That I would agree with.
If Mo's, he's hemming and hawing and hesitating, and at that point the DeWitts have to just say no. First time ever.
They're not.
We're ordering you to sell. They're not, but they should.
They will not do that. I mean, you and I both know that.
I mean, it's like, how much more damage do you want to do to your own franchise, right?
That I would totally agree. That would completely, I think, ruin this season if the Cardinals did not capitalize and try to stay on the long-term view.
Yeah.
This, again, like we just said, this is not a team where it's one trade away from being a contender. Okay, that's not who they are this year. That's okay. But don't try to fool people into thinking that it is. Look around the stadium. You think fans don't know that already?
Right.
You cannot fool this fan base into thinking that this team is something more than it is. Let's do the smart thing. Let's keep the eyes on the future. We'll see how the Rockies series goes, but I have an indication that the Cardinals are leaning more towards a soft sell than before. So we'll see, Bernie. You and I can break it down after the Rockies series. It'll be fun.
Well, take care of your voice.
Yes, no one needs to hear this anymore. It's so
plain
bad.
Hurt.
All right.
Kudos.
We'll be back with you from Colorado. We'll have a crossover episode after that, again, with Padres Territory. Kyle Glazer does an amazing job there. Bernie and I will be back with you at some point next week. Maybe this next series will go better than the last one. Low bar, but, let's try to be optimistic.
I'll say.
Bernie, I'm Katie. Thanks for watching Cardinal Territory. We'll be back with you soon.